Hello guys, once again welcome back to you all. Today we are going to continue our earlier section, that part 4 for acid, base and salt. So before wasting our time, let's start this video. First we will discuss about the pH value and importance of pH in our daily life. So then only we will go through salts, and even one more part I will upload. So if you are not watched the 3 parts, go and watch that. So first we will start about the importance of pH life in our daily life. Means that how we can consider or say that pH is very, very essential. The first example is that we are already known that HCl is excreted by the glands which are available in our stomach. But do you know why this HCl, as we already knew that HCl is very, very powerful acid. So why they do not dilute or why they do not harm our body? So I told you in life process part 1 biology that there are certain things which protect, like I told you in jams, so leave it now. But here we will only see that suppose whenever we are eating too much in a very, very less interval of time, then a lot of acids are released from the glands available in our stomach. So what will happen at that time? That time we face acidity or irritation in our stomach. During that time we eat antacid. Do you know what is this antacid? Actually antacids are nothing but they are only bases. They neutralizes the HCl which is released by the gland, and finally we get relief. So let me tell you first about the antacids, certain names. The first antacid that we use mostly in our home is that you might have seen about milk of magnesia. Do you know what is this milk of magnesia? During that time when we were discussing in part 2, I told you about the base milk of magnesia. Milk of magnesia. Now leave it. If you are not known from this term milk of magnesia, let me tell you another base which we use for getting relief from the irritation that we got during that time. You might be knowing about soda, baking soda. Do you know what is baking soda? We will discuss here only. Actually baking soda is sodium hydrogen carbonate. You might have listened the word earlier only, because baking soda, sodium hydrogen carbonate, is used in our home for so many purposes. So we can say that here sodium hydrogen carbonate, let me write its name only, sodium hydrogen carbonate. Now guys, after this, without wasting our time, we are going to see another a very, very essential use of pH scale or pH value in our daily life. The next thing which we are going to discuss about how pH helps in our tooth. Actually you know that whenever we eat any food particles, the food particles might be having acids in them, and whenever we chew the food particle through our teeth or through our teeth, actually they release that particular acid on our tooth. And do you know what will happen? After getting more acidic amount of substances on our teeth, the acid actually harms our enamel, and for that purpose only we use the substances like we already know Colgate. I told you we use Colgate because they are bases which neutralizes the acids available on our tooth. And even the pH value also matters a lot. I told you that pH value of acid, strong acids, are from 1 to 4 actually. Even 4 is not considered much more strong, but we can say 1 to 4. But suppose that what will happen when a very, very powerful acid is put on our enamel? It will totally collapse or it will totally damage our enamel. Hence, we have to use always Colgate for washing the teeth properly after eating any thing or any particle. Now we are going to see another important is that even our blood, I told you, blood is considered as neutral because its pH value is 7. What will happen when the pH value of blood will decrease or increase? Suppose the pH value of blood is decreased from 7 to 6.5, or we can say 6. So the blood gets acidic, or that during that time also it harms our body. So another use I am going to tell you that you might have seen that most of the farmers are using these days carbon phosphate, milk, carbon, sodium carbonate. These all compounds they are using. Do you know why they are using these all compounds? In order to prevent their soil from becoming more acidic. Actually, whenever we use some synthetic chemicals, or we can say we are using these days a lots of fertilizers in our soil, and because of those fertilizers, the soil get reduced their fertility and they became acidic. In order to neutralize them, we use bases such as I told you chalk, means calcium carbonate, and even some more examples are there that we see in order to reduce the pH value. And now the final thing I'm going to tell you is that you might have seen that most of the insects which sting on our body, they actually release what they might be, they means that they can release even acid or base. Suppose you might have seen ant. Whenever ant bites us, they actually put a sting-like structure in our body. And what they actually transfer from that sting? They actually transfer acidic substances. And in order to neutralize those acidic substances, we use bases and finally we get relief from that pH. So from here guys, we can say that pH is very, very essential. And even in part 3 only I show you the pH scale. But I had not told you about the colors which are available. So let me tell you about that. Actually, I told you 7 is considered neutral, whereas 14 is up to from 7 to 14, they are considered in bases, and from 1 to 7, from 6 only, 1 to 6 they are considered acids. So that is very, very essential guys. So from here we are going to continue our section of salts. So actually this is what the intermission of this video. So we are going to continue the section of salt. Actually, what is salt? How we can define salt? Salt is nothing but it is a type of compound formed in two cases. First case is that whenever acid gets react with bases, we get salt as the product. But another thing is that whenever we react metals with whom? Whenever we react metals with acid also, they at that time also hydrogen gas is evolved and we get one another thing which is salt. So let me tell you certain examples. Even in chapter 1 only I told you about when we were discussing about chemical reaction equation, there I told you, there I gave you certain examples guys. So let me tell you first about thing that is, I told you that, wait guys, I'm going to give you, wait. Yeah guys, here we are going to see one example. I told you, whenever metal also react with acid, during that time we get hydrogen gas as evolved gas and we get another thing which is salt. So here Na is our metal and we are reacting this metal with acid, strong acid. What we will get here? We will get here NaCl as the salt and here H2 will get evolved. So we can say that in order to balance it, we can write here Na. So here also we have to multiply NaCl, 2 NaCl plus H2. So is it clear to you guys? Now from here we are clear that during two reactions we get salt as the product. First one is that whenever metals react, and even I'm not telling only 2 times only we get, even one more time is there. So leave it guys, that matter is only about us that how salts are formed. Even salts are having so many prefixes. You might get confused whenever you will learn and revise prefixes. Don't go on revising because some of the people may say phosphate is considered as the carbon or phosphate is considered as the salt compound. Someone will say chloride is considered as the carbon compound. Salt compound. So we can't judge like that. The basic thing is that I will tell you. Here from another thing I told you, whenever acids react with bases. Here we can see example, HCl acid is reacting with a base NaOH. In this reaction we get a common salt which is NaCl that we use in our daily life. NaCl, sodium chloride plus what we get over here means that H2, another thing H2O, means that these are the two products that we get whenever we react acid with bases. So here also we can see that we are getting salt as the product value or resultant value after this reaction. So are you clear to you all guys? These all things are clear to you all. Now we are going to start about the properties regarding to salt. Before that, let me tell you certain prefixes regarding to salt so that you may not get confused whenever you have to see the new terms. So guys, from here we are going to start about the prefixes of salt. First prefix is that, let me tell you, phosphate, sulfate, chloride, carbonate. Is there more? Actually, there are so many prefixes that we use for demonstrating salt compound. First I told you phosphate, carbonate, nitrate guys, nitrate I left, nitrate, sulfate, acetate, nitrate and acetate. So what you have to do is that you have to react an acid with a base, and you have to write this the fixes with a sufficient example. Suppose I am going to tell you one about sodium chloride. I told you already that we reacted what? We reacted NaOH, means that a strong base, with HCl, then we got the result as a NaCl2, means that sodium chloride plus water. So what you have to do, let me tell you about the several. You have to listen carefully, or if you want to let me write, then I will write. Okay, no guys, no problem. So I will give you every example of these all suffixes. First one, phosphate. Phosphate means we can get any phosphate. So let me write you the first example of phosphate is that leave it guys, because here you might get confused. Here even examples are there for phosphate. Let me tell you about that phosphate. Actually, whenever we use certain substances as for fertilizer in our field, during that time we use this phosphate. Even we can say that phosphate is considered as salt, but in your text, in your syllabus, you are not having that concept regarding to phosphate. So, but let me tell you about phosphate is that here I erased phosphate for just two reasons. Because in your class 10th, you may not get so many compounds regarded with phosphate. But then also I am telling you, phosphate is also considered as a salt compound. For that purpose only we use phosphate for distributing in our soil in order to make the soil as neutral. Means that its fertility need to be available in the soil. So from here, let me tell you about so many examples. First one, sulfate. Second, chloride. Third one, carbonate, nitrate and acetate. One by one I will give you. Sulfate. Sulfate means sodium sulfate, NaSO4. So many examples are there, but let me tell you according to your concept only. So we can say here, calcium sulfate, sodium sulfate, anything we can take. Na2SO4, Na2SO4. Chloride I told you, NaCl. Carbonate, NaHCO3, sodium hydrogen bicarbonate. Here nitrate we can say, nitrate are also so many, HNO3. There are so many examples guys. Let me tell you the basic concept. Even I will try to react these substances, or we will see how they are actually formed. Means that these all substances or the salt solution which I will tell you, I will write their reactant and their product. So here we are going to discuss about nitrate. Nitrate, I told you, sodium nitrate, potassium nitrate, so many nitrates can be formed. Zinc nitrate, I told you, calcium nitrate. Then is it okay? Calcium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, sodium hydrogen carbonate. So these so many examples are there. But the last thing is that what about acetate? Because the acetate we don't get in most of the compounds. Nitrate, is it clear to you all? If you are not having any problem, but then also let me write you certain. Here I told you already one example, that was also right. But acetate, what about acetate? Acetate are actually not formed in most of the cases. There are certain exceptions or rules for this acetate. But here I will tell you one example of acetate is that sodium acetate. Sodium acetate means what? There you will see the sodium, availability of sodium, means that CH3CCO. This is what? CH3CCO(Na). Here we can see that sodium is available over there. But let me distinguish about their reactant value which are available over there. Then only you will get 100% clarity. First one, here we can see Na2SO4, means that sodium sulfate. There we can see sodium might be over there as the form of what? Base or as acid. Means that there will be, we will see that base, means that sodium means what? NaOH might be there, sodium might sodium hydroxide will be there, and here sulfate we can say H2SO4 will be there. So when we will react both of them, we will get here sodium sulfate. Then here chloride, I told you what means that whenever we are reacting HCl with NaOH, strong base with a strong acid, then we get chloride. Then carbonate NaHCO3 means that here we can see Na sodium. Here also we can react NaOH plus what? NaOH plus HCO3. But there we have to see only one thing, is that whenever we are reacting these two terms together, so there we have to use the carbon availability also in that acid. So leave it. I am going to give you one clear example. Here we can see that in case of sodium hydrogen carbonate, you might get confused because this is a long term. So we can say sodium carbonate only, NaCO3 guys. So there should not be any problem with you all guys, because 1 second, wait guys, wait. One other thing which I am going to tell you, that here we can see NaCO3, or we can say Na2CO3. The reason is that I already told you, in order to balance the equations or reactions, we need to always compare the number of atoms available in that compound. So guys, only इतना क्लियर रहना कि ये सभी में क्या है, कि ये सभी एक प्रकार के साल्ट होते हैं. तो ऐसा कोई नहीं है कि कोई बोला सल्फेट साल्ट है कि नहीं, सल्फेट जहाँ पे लगा प्रीफिक्स वो साल्ट होगा ही होगा. इसमें हमें टाइम ज़्यादा स्पेंड नहीं करना है guys. So this much only we are going to discuss in this video, because we had not discussed most of the terms regarding to salts in this video, because whenever I will go through the part 5, there we will see baking soda, bleaching powder, even so many cases that we get from the common salt only. So common salt is not a very, very simple thing for us. Even before that, I will tell you in part 6 is that, means that what about, there are even certain conditions on nature of salts, means that all the salts are not equal. Our which we are using at our home is sodium chloride, means that common salt. Do you know why it is known as common salt? Because this salt, common salt, possesses the nature of neither acidic or nor base. They show the neutral nature. The reason is that they are actually made from a strong acid and a strong base. And we know that whenever a strong base and strong acid forms a bonding, the bonding will also be strong. That's why they do not show the property of either acid or base. And even when we will see through the second example that some acids show the some salts show the property of acidic. That's why the reason is that they are made from a strong acid but less base, or we can say big bases. For example, you might be knowing about NaH, means that leave it, NH4Cl, means that you might have heard about this term, ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride shows the property of acidic, means the reason is that because they are made from a very, very weak base. But what about another term? There we will see that they are strong, means that they are salts, but they show the property of bases. The reason is that whenever we use a term hydrolysis, there only we see this all nature. Second nature I told you, the third nature I am going to tell you is that, suppose sodium carbonate. Sodium carbonate I told you Na2CO3. Here Na2CO3 is made from a strong base which is NaOH. And NaOH is the very, very strongest base. So here we can see that whenever NaOH is reacted with hydrogen carbonate, or we can say that acid means H2CO3, carbonic acid. Here whenever we are reacting carbonic acid with sodium hydroxide, the resultant value we are getting at sodium carbonate. And here I told you sodium carbonate is considered, or they show the property of bases. Either even they are salt. But how they show? Whenever we do an activity, means that hydrolysis. But do you know what is this hydrolysis? Hydrolysis is nothing but it is a process of separation of the salt compound. Just that only. How we can define it? Hydrolysis is nothing but it is a process of separating salt compound in different acid or bases. So is it clear to you all guys? And up to here only we are going to discuss the last topic which we discussed about the nature of salt. And from the next video only I told you, there we will go through every concept. Even we will discuss those concepts in part 5 only, because the video duration is so long. So meet you all in next video. Have a nice day to you all. Thanks for watching this video, guys. And if you are not subscribed, please go and subscribe the channel.